Hello, welcome back to CryptoLiveLeak. My name is Patrick Conlon. I am here with Mel Vera of the Blockchain Education Network. She was a keynote speaker yesterday. She was also a host of the BUIDLBoston Hackathon 2019, as well as a judge. She is a woman of many, many hats. Mel, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me.
So one of the themes this year, and that you talked in your keynote speech yesterday, has to do with environmental sustainability of blockchain. Can you kind of expand on that?
Yeah, so in my keynote I mentioned how in the past the applications and the tools that we see today have not been built with an ecological mindset or an ecological conscience. And really, with blockchain, we are right at the time where we can do that. And my first business was a skincare. And I got involved in blockchain a while back, and when I first got involved, I started thinking, how does this apply to everything I've ever done? And I realized that from the get-go, if I would have applied and put my skincare on the blockchain, and put all of my manufacturers and all of my suppliers from Latin America, it would have cut out a lot of middleman and cost. In addition, paying them cryptocurrency would have really helped me in terms of transaction fees. And it would have created a lot of transparency with my consumers so that they could see exactly where my product was coming from start to finish. And this applies in many ways in blockchain. I mean, oftentimes I ask people, how many people, show of hands, think that blockchain is not sustainable? And most hands go up because of mining and proof of work. But in reality, it's because when creating or thinking of these applications and sources, we haven't thought of doing it in an ecological manner. And what that means is getting really creative and finding ways to do so. So for example, there's deep water mining that is actually ecological. There's ways to use blockchain with carbon footprint and put microgrids all over and have people use solar panels and renewable energy, and really putting back the power in people's hands. And so, I think blockchain is a huge resource and tool to make projects and the future and processes ecological, but we have to build with that in mind. And I also think that one of the big problems in ecology and creating an ecological process and product is the profitability. From the source, it might be an upfront cost, and it's sometimes not profitable. But I think blockchain can help with that in creating making the processes more sustainable and more streamlined, and just overall, with more innovation that we put into this, we'll be able to do it all together. So yeah, that was what my keynote was about.
So you were also a judge of all the different teams that hacked this weekend. Building on that, how do you feel, so you touched on profitability, right? And obviously in developing kind of socioeconomic sustainable models to help increase UN development goals, there's a challenge there regarding profitability, right? So what's the incentive for people to be creating different dApps on these blockchains in order to kind of help the world? Right. So how do we help to mitigate that in order to, not only create, not only to try to help improve the situation of the less fortunate and of those in the developing world, but also the model of profitability to make sure that there is incentive for developers to be working on apps that are accessible to NGOs and aid organizations?
I mean, it's very simple. It's social entrepreneurship, to be honest with you. I think oftentimes we have this idea that if you're going to be ecological or you're going to help society, then that means you have to be a nonprofit. Not true. I think that most business models should include a social impact and an ecological side, because all businesses affect the local economy, and if not a global economy, depending how big it is. And so the way that we can build and be profitable and be ecological and just be a good company and have good tools and resources is, when we're build towards a future in mind, right? Build towards, okay, what world do I want to live in? And then when creating that beautiful piece of code or when creating those systems, create it for that reason. I think that we are really all excited to see the future of blockchain, and we're all building so that there's processes that are simpler and so that tools can combine together and just work. But I also think that listen, as developers, we love being creative. I'm not 100% developer at all, but I know developers are very creative and think outside the box. And when you think with an ecological mindset, you have to think outside the box. And so you'll be able to do both. I really believe in that. Does that answer your question a bit?
It does. So on that note, in judging the competition, what were some of the projects that stood out to you that helped to kind of reach those goals?
Okay, well, I saw a project that I really liked. It was Alicia Abba, I believe, and it was for coffee growers in Ghana, and it was a way so that the farmer could pay its employees, and if they were in a contract where whenever the farmer would get paid, or when they were looking for, funding for their farms or to grow more coffee, they were in a 3-point contract where the person that would buy the coffee, was almost like an investor, and then they would, and the workers for the farm wouldn't have to be worried, is this guy going to pay me or is he going to run out with the money? It was right there and then. It was beautiful, and it was all, easy. And I think that that's one of the examples that we see in which how a project can be ecological, can have a societal point of view, and can also be really innovative in terms of blockchain and tech. So, yeah.
And so you've obviously been to a lot of conferences and covered different hackathons. How has BUIDLBoston 2019, the first inaugural BUIDLBoston 2019, been different than some of your other experiences? And how would you kind of reflect and characterize your time here this weekend?
I loved it. Honestly, I've been going to not only hackathons for a while, but business plan competitions for a while as well, blockchain conferences, and some hackathons mention that it should have the UN Sustainable Development Goals in mind and have a track for a social track. But I really, really, really like that BUIDLBoston put, and that we put as a team, shout out to my team, put such a focus on being inclusive, on really from the get-go making sure that the hackers are thinking, okay, I want to go an ecological route, or I'm going to go a sustainable route, but all around the social impact, so that if you want to win, you have to be building for a better tomorrow.
Shout out to Shamir and Lindsay and the BUIDLBoston team.
I love you guys.
Mel of the Blockchain Education Network, thank you so much for your time here today. My name is Patrick Conlon with CryptoLiveLeak. Remember to subscribe below to our YouTube channel, and until next time, take care.
Thanks.